all um, come out of this. All right. I think we can begin our final briefer class today, our 14th class, which is optional. So it's great to see a few students here who've come in person. And of course, there are students that may join online as usual. And then there's the recording as well. So, really, all I would like to do today is talk a little bit about evolution, this force in our story, this great force. And then we can also have a little discussion about that. And if you need to speak with me one on one afterwards about anything concerning your final assignment, which was due last night, your final reflection, which is due tonight, and we can talk about that or anything related to your final grade that will be coming next week. I have to turn around by next Tuesday, I think 145 final grades. So, but I've learned, with teaching that I thought I was organized when I used to work as a journalist and television producer and director. But boy, being in a classroom and doing this has really forced me to be even more organized than ever. So I think that we'll be able to wrap things up in about 45 minutes, maybe even less. It just depends on how much time you'd like to talk as well about things. So, does anyone have any questions right now that they would like me to address before we talk about something that happened yesterday that is significant in terms of our evolution? And you're watching it looped silent on the video wall right now. And some of you may have already seen the news of this. In fact, I've been able to tee it up so that you can see right now that we are about a minute and 47 seconds away from the launch of the most powerful rocket ever designed by humans that was launched yesterday in Houston by SpaceX and Elon Musk. And so, as we begin to uh, explore today a little bit of this idea of where are we going on this planet after you've explored so much about where have we come from, I think it's fitting that what we have up there today is a bit of news from yesterday about going into space. Because you've seen the story now in a very introductory way of how did it happen that one particular species on this planet, of all the animals that have come and gone, some of whom are still here, but most of them we've killed off. And we're still doing that. That's why so many animals are endangered species now. That's what's been happening in human history. But how did it happen that just we became the ones who leave the planet? No other animal, nothing on this planet has ever reached the point where a living thing, us, was able to leave the planet. And, you know, let's see what happens for a moment as we watch this unfold on the video wall right now. And for those of you who are maybe online with us, and for those of you watching the recording later, you may want to kind of lean closer to the screen so you can see what's happening on the video wall here. I could actually make it full screen for you right now, but I kind of like the idea that you have to lean closer and look in your screen so you can see what's on the video wall. You're kind of like in the back row of the class, and you're or in your standing room at the Toronto Maple Leafs game last night, in which the Leafs kicked Tampa Bay's butt, which is amazing. And isn't Tampa Bay the Stanley Cup champ from last year? I think. What was it called? Oh, okay. Tampa Bay has won the cup, though. Yeah. So the Leafs So here we go. We have a countdown happening right now. This happened yesterday in Houston, and many of you have probably seen this already, but some of you may not have. As as you know, Elon Musk, um, one of our most brilliant and insufferable individuals on this planet. I can't listen to him say another word. I'm so tired of him seeking attention, but he is brilliant as an engineer. There's no question, and in business. I just wish he would shut up and do his work and not always need the attention so badly. At any rate, he and his company and his team in Houston at SpaceX launched this rocket yesterday. And from my understanding, it not only is the most powerful rocket ever, but it has some very important technology, including 6 engines that were all firing at the same time, and you're going to see this unfold. Probably you know already what happened. 4 minutes into this rocket that is supposed to demonstrate to humanity the kind of firepower that we humans have now. Let's remember Elon Musk probably is the most important entrepreneur in space development, and probably will be for some decades. And NASA, the American Space Agency, is working with him. So he's a really important person. Just, he's got to cool it with his need for being on Twitter all the time and destroying a lot of things at the same time as he builds things. But look at this. This is humanity's attempt to develop a rocket that will take all of us a lot farther into the solar system and get us to Mars. That's the idea. That's what he is attempting to bring to us through his engineering and his great teams. Look at the crowds that we're watching, and then you'll see the team in mission control, and I think either in California or Houston, cheering this on. And I can actually bring audio for you now. It's just that for those who are watching online in the recording, you won't hear the audio. But let me just see. We can sort of narrate it for you. Let's see if this works. Here, hold on. Oh yeah, just a second. I think I know how to do this. So let's see. Yeah, this is the problem. Okay. So T minus 40 seconds. You can all hear this, but the recording can't. They can still see this, but we'll explain. 40 seconds. We'll just watch it take off, but we won't watch the whole 4 minutes. We can talk about what happened afterwards. It's the loudest I can get it. That's his in mission control cheering. This is in Houston, but I think everybody else was in California. I'm not sure exactly who was where, but we'll talk about it. So 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10. I've yet to do all of the research to figure out exactly what was happening there from an engineering perspective, but maybe some of you know a little bit more about the 6 engines. But take a look at the dashboard at the bottom. The speed is reaching, in a matter of seconds, 300 kilometers. We're going to be at 400 kilometers an hour there we are. We're at 400 kilometers an hour in 40 seconds. and we're already 2 kilometers into the air. That's how powerful it is. Try to get your mind around that in 50 seconds, it's already 3 kilometers into the air. And it's moving at, well, you can see, right? You can see the numbers going? Okay, good. We'll watch this for a moment. Actually, why not? Because we can, it's only last 4 minutes and then we'll stop. But for all of the team at SpaceX cheering, to them, as far as they explain it, it's already a success. It already cleared the tower at the launch pad. So this is what we need to be clear about. This was not about, apparently, it was not about getting into deep space yet. It was about getting this thing off the launch pad. At least that's what they say. I don't know if that's hype and propaganda, because there's some news today that I haven't been able to confirm that Elon Musk wants to issue criminal charges against whoever caused what's about to happen. But I don't know if that's true. We have to find out, okay? So there are the engines, or 3 of them. So now we're at 2,100 kilometers an hour. This rocket is something like 24 stories high. That's how big it is. Massive. And what Elon Musk is determined to do with his team is make us multiplanetary. He really has this vision that humans can be living on other planets. That's who he is. And that part of his dreaming is really great. It's a brilliant thing. But anyways, here we go. So the separation that was taking place is something I don't have enough information on to be able to talk about it well. But something happened here in this separation, and Musk and his team are making it sound like everything's okay. But that's what they were expecting. But here we go. Here goes the explosion. Now you hear lots of clapping from everybody, because apparently, from their perspective, it went further than they thought it would. Just to get it off the launch pad and go past the launch tower at the launch pad just in Texas was a success. But I'm not sure if that really is true, and whether this is just, and I'll say this very respectfully, American hype. The propaganda of a very successful person who wants, there he is, okay? So he's sitting, he's looking around, this has just happened. I don't know if he's happy, if he's not, if he expected this to go further. And the people who are talking here, they're all his PR team. So of course they're going to all talk about how wonderful it is. I mean, maybe I'm being a little cynical, but this is the game. This is marketing. But I think that if I do have a little fun with you guys, and then we're going to get to evolution, I can rewind this a bit. Let's go back and take a look at Elon. Because I think this is what matters. This is all the people who work for him and, who love what he does and see that he's clearly a visionary and a very important person. But there he is. Let's stop that for a second. We're doing a little bit of, you know, after the game replay. The coach with the team is looking at it. Does this look so happy here? I don't know. This is live. Where's the smile, Elon? Everybody's cheering you know, and he loves the camera. He loves attention. So let's remember something. Let's be very clear here. He wants the camera on him, and he wants you to see this. So why is he not happy? Why is he not putting his fist in the air? He's just kind of like, Because this leads me to the big idea about evolution. Okay, so but we're gonna have a little chat about this because this is important stuff, and it really speaks to our future. Beverly, do you want to say? Just grab a microphone and turn it on. Karaoke, so everybody can hear you. And go ahead.
I was just going to say that perhaps his expectations were much higher than the people that were working because of his personality. You're always expecting to reach higher.
Reach higher.
Competitive people, right? So perhaps it wasn't. I mean, I agree with you that there's could be propaganda and PR is going to want to make it.
Hype. Yeah. Look.
Yeah,
Everything's okay.
But I don't know enough about him, but
Yeah.
that's just a thought.
Absolutely.
Another question for you.
Sure. Go ahead.
Is this the rocket that he asked his engineers to make nice and pointy so it looked cool, even though it wasn't needed?
I don't know. Tell me what you've heard. Or
I heard him in an interview, and when the
Yeah.
engineers were making one of his rockets, he wanted it pointier, and he asked if it would affect it, and they said no. But he wanted it pointier so it would look like what a rocket looks like in our head.
So it's not an aerodynamic thing that he was after, that maybe it would go, because it's possible from an aerodynamic perspective, the pointier part might make it faster or something like that. It didn't make a difference. Okay, well, he can do what he wants. He's the boss. Not that, we might not want to work for him. Some might not. He's not the nicest person. But let's try to understand something about what happened yesterday. And then I'd like to give you a few little things to think about in terms of where we might be going. Do you have any thoughts at all about what happened yesterday? Did you all see this? Or is this new to you? So you haven't seen it yet? You may not have had time. It's just Seth. You didn't. Danny, had you seen this, the launch? So because you guys are busy with getting your schoolwork done. Fair enough. So you've just seen a bit of history play out. This is historical stuff. This is by far the largest, most powerful rocket that's ever been designed by humans. It went 4 minutes into the air, and then it had, from a euphemistic standpoint, as the SpaceX said, something like it had a disassembly. It disassembled, or I can't remember the term exactly, but it exploded. And so I would like to try and understand something about this idea of power, and particularly evolution, because we are the only creatures ever to be in this position where we are routinely now going into space. This is hardly news now, really, when you look at what's been happening. There has been just last week, the European Space Agency launched a rocket to Venus, and it's going to take about 7 years to reach there, and it will be orbiting around Venus, and particularly looking closely at its moons, about 5 or 6 moons around Venus that have some ice on them, and it's believed that there may be underneath very thick ice on, I think it's Ganymede or Callisto or Io. These are the 3 of the 6 moons of Venus that there might be some water there, and in that, there might be some remains of or some evidence of life that once may have existed or still may exist, microbial life on Venus. We could talk about what the Event Horizon Telescope delivered last week in terms of a view of the black hole at the center of our Milky Way galaxy that we've never seen before. And by the way, just in case you are looking for job opportunities, do you know that in Nova Scotia, we are planning to build NASA kind of north here? It's called the Maritime Launch Project. And there's a spaceport that's being built in Nova Scotia as we speak. Just go and Google the Maritime Launch Project and you'll see all about it. Over 70 countries have space programs now. And Canada just recently placed one of its young astronauts on a NASA lunar mission that will be launching soon. And there will be soon another Chris Hadfield, like, household name in Canada, and his name is Jeremy, his last name. He's the astronaut who's been chosen to go to at least the orbiting moon mission. And there are many other projects in the works right now going into space, including the commercial development of space, which is what Elon Musk is doing. Danny, make sure you get a microphone, okay, so everyone can hear you.
I want to ask if, like, these we keep exploring space. Do you think we can, like, find aliens?
Well, it's a very, very, very good question. And there is a field, Danny, called astrobiology. And I don't want to be trying to do too many things at once, but I think this is something I'm going to go and write on the board unless I'll let all of you relax today. I'm not going to volunteer. Anyone want to go over to the board and write something? All right. Because Danny, yeah, there might be. Not aliens. Well, we don't even know, but we're now in a time in history. It's called astro. Ooh, someone's got this in astrobiology. It's a growing field, and essentially it's people, scientists, whose exclusive discipline is studying whether and where there may be evidence of life elsewhere. And just to finally prove something to you, and then we're going to talk a bit about this. And I also really want to talk about this idea of evolution, but you can't talk about evolution without talking about space, because this is where we're going now. It's happening. It's real. And you may work in this field in some aerospace industry or who knows. But Danny, feast your eyes on this. You talk about alien life. Those are exoplanets, extrasolar planets. Outside of our solar system, in the Milky Way galaxy, there are billions of other suns. A sun is a star, billions of other stars. And these suns have planets around them. Just like we're, going around our sun. And these are some of the planets that have been seen by our increasingly powerful telescopes. Exoplanets, extrasolar planets outside of our solar system. More and more, Danny, we're beginning to believe that there are planets that are just have the same proximity to their sun the way we do it. The Goldilocks zone. Remember we talked about this? And so if we can get there and get closer with our rockets to see what's happening there, well, we may find things, Danny, that is going to change our reality. But I'm only speculating, but you just saw, a rocket ship that 20 years ago nobody thought would be built. It exploded, but, in 2 or 3 months, they're gonna launch another one, learning everything they can from this little disaster. And so this is what we do, we humans. Remember, we got through an ice age. Like, we just when we come together, there's a whole bunch of things we can do, right, Danny, that might seem impossible. So we could find something in space. Yes.
As do you not find it kind of odd that we know more about like our space than we do like in the ocean? Because like yeah, you hear this thing that like we know more about our
Yeah.
space. Like only 5% of the ocean is mapped,
Sure.
but we know a lot about our galaxy and space.
We can't stop the human imagination from wanting to know everything. And we can do both, but we can't stop the desire to use our technology to go further, go into space. It's an elevation of the human spirit. It's an inspiration to all of humanity in the way that the lunar missions of the 1960s, with the Apollo missions, even though they were driven by a Cold War between the Western world and the Soviet Union and its satellite countries, what has stayed with us through these decades after is the fact that we landed on the moon. We got pictures of the planet. And so we can do both, Danny, but we can't be avoiding all of the problems we have down on the planet, down here. But that's something I want to talk about in a moment. Aliens, little green men, Martians and other things. So far, it does appear from everything science is telling us up to today as we speak, that a miracle has happened on planet Earth and nowhere else. Life happened and life sustained itself. And the water that's down here stayed here long enough for life to begin in the water. It's believed, for example, that with Mars, which is half the size of Earth, and we're beginning to discover that there may have been something happening on Mars a long time ago before it got cooked by the sun. We may discover that there was a kind of life happening on Mars, but it couldn't protect itself from the sun's heat because it didn't have the strong magnetic field that we have. Mars, we are beginning to see, has some remains of water. Water is central to the emergence of life. What's unique about planet Earth, more than anywhere, as far as we know, is that water has stayed here long enough. And stayed here long enough, and the sun has been able to provide just enough heat for that incredible process to happen that we saw, which is when the prokaryotes first emerged and they started to reproduce into eukaryotes and then algae and all of these other life forms, which I showed you. I wish I would be your age or the age of your children or grandchildren if you have any. Imagine the things we may discover. Are we ready for that knowledge? Or will we just go backwards? Will we retreat into our religions? Or will we continue to open ourselves up to science? Will we be able to deal with the discoveries that science makes? Or will we say, no, that's not what God wants us to do, so let's not go there? See, when we talk about evolution, we're talking about two huge forces in our story that were created by humans. And you saw this through the semester. There's the force of religion and there's the force of science. And those may be the two greatest evolutionary forces that are moving us forwards. Religion gives us meaning, but so does science. But religion doesn't uncover new information the way science does. So we have to really, and you have to think in your own life as you evolve, where do you think you're going to be heading in terms of your convictions? Will you remain open to new knowledge? Will you allow yourself to evolve to that new knowledge? Or will you kind of avoid that knowledge and seek security somewhere where things are safer? We're not living in a safe time right now. This is an unpredictable, volatile time in the story of humanity because we are in conflict on Earth. We're learning a lot about what's in the natural world, and there's a lot of unpredictability in your own life. You don't even know where you're going to be in 5 years. I'm not even sure you know where you're going to be tomorrow. But in a way, you can know if you are ready to adapt. So let's just stop for a second, okay? Because I really want to just remind you of what's important when we think about the future based on the story that we've explored so far. In the story that you've seen, and I've lectured about and we've talked about, who would you say in your mind are the most important humans that you've seen in this story? That you think really help us to understand something about our future? Think a bit about what we've covered so far and who might be a human in this story that really speaks to where we might be going. Well, I'm going to let you think about that, okay? And I'm going to show you a video that should make you feel kind of hopeful about our future, that might surprise you. And then I will tell you who is my choice for the human that really speaks to the future to help us to understand what might we be evolving to and why we must respect the force of evolution in our lives, why we should not be afraid of change. That's what evolution is. It's change. And that's what you've seen unfold on this planet. And this story that I showed you, the story of what's taken place with the rise of humanity, is down there on planet Earth, the third rock from the sun, that amazing, miraculous place where life began. We humans emerged. And we have done some things here that no one else has done. And we need to understand that down there on the third rock, everything has been changing over time. In your life, you're going to change. You're not the same person you were 10 years ago. Are you? Would you say you are? No. Beverly, would you say you're the same person you were 10 years ago? Not at all. Okay. So we change. Are you ready to deal with that? Well, let me show you something that should give us some hope about a change that's been happening. A really big change that you may not have noticed. And I just want to tee this up properly. And for those who are watching the recording or online, I've been working on this. So, okay. So let me go get first the link. And then I'm going to set this up for you. I'm going to put it into here. Okay. Share video. Good. And then I'm just going to, before it starts, good. Here. So there we go. Excellent. Grayson has got our audio back, and now I can go full. Well, oh, just a second. Is going into full screen, losing the audio. Just let me just double check. I can do it here by going over to okay. So I'll do it this way. Okay, so there's no confusion because it has been okay. I still have my audio. I'll just do it this way. So that way I know that I've got the arrow on the audio control. Good. Great. So Hans Rosling put together this wonderful series of presentations based on hundreds of thousands of numbers, statistics, in which he tried to understand what's been happening in human history, particularly over the last 200 years. Have we, humanity, since the Industrial Revolution began, and we really started to advance with our tools and technologies, as well as our pollution, but has there been progress, real progress for humanity? And if there has been, doesn't that say something about our future, that we can continue to progress? Well, let me show you what these numbers are and what he was able to present based on some very good research.
Visualization is right at the heart of my own work too. I teach global health. And I know having the data is not enough. I have to show it in ways people both enjoy and understand. Now, I'm going to try something I've never done before. Animating the data in real space, with a bit of technical assistance from the crew.
So, here we go. First, an axis for health, life expectancy, from 25 years to 75 years. And down here, an axis for wealth, income per person, $400,000, $4,000, and $40,000. So down here is poor and sick, and up here is rich and healthy. Now, I'm going to show you the world 200 years ago, in 1810. Here come all the countries. Europe brown, Asia red, Middle East green, Africa south of Sahara blue, and the Americas yellow. And the size of the country bubbles show the size of the population. And in 1810, it was pretty crowded down there, wasn't it? All countries were sick and poor. Life expectancy were below 40 in all countries. And only UK and the Netherlands were slightly better off, but not much. And now, why start the world? The Industrial Revolution makes countries in Europe and elsewhere move away from the rest. But the colonized countries in Asia and Africa, they are stuck down there. And eventually, the Western countries get healthier and healthier. And now we slow down to show the impact of the First World War and the Spanish flu epidemic. What a catastrophe! And now I speed up through the 1920s and the 1930s. And in spite of the Great Depression, Western countries forge on towards greater wealth and health. Japan and some others try to follow, but most countries stay down here. Now, after the tragedies of the Second World War, we stop a bit to look at the world in 1948. 1948 was a great year. The war was over, Sweden topped the medal table at the Winter Olympics, and I was born. But the differences between the countries of the world was wider than ever. United States was in the front, Japan was catching up. Brazil was way behind, Iran was getting a little richer from oil, but still had short lives. And the Asian giants, China, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Indonesia, they were still poor and sick down here. But look what is about to happen. Here we go again. In my lifetime, former colonies gained independence, and then finally they started to get healthier and healthier and healthier. And in the 1970s, then countries in Asia and Latin America started to catch up with the Western countries. They became the emerging economies. Some in Africa follows. Some Africans were stuck in civil war and others hit by HIV. And now we can see the world today in the most up-to-date statistics. Most people today live in the middle, but there are huge differences at the same time between the best of countries and the worst of countries. And there are also huge inequalities within countries. These bubbles show country averages, but I can split them. Take China, I can split it into provinces. There goes Shanghai. It has the same wealth and health as Italy today. And there is the poor inland province Guizhou. It is like Pakistan. And if I split it further, the rural parts are like Ghana in Africa.
And yet, despite the enormous disparities today, we have seen 200 years of remarkable progress. That huge historical gap between the West and the rest is now closing. We have become an entirely new converging world. And I see a clear trend into the future. With aid, trade, green technology and peace, it's fully possible that everyone can make it to the healthy, wealthy corner.
Well, what you just seen in the last few minutes is a story of 200 countries shown over 200 years and beyond. It involved plotting of 120,000 numbers. Pretty neat, huh?
There we go. I'm going to turn the lights back on. We just have a few minutes. We can talk a little longer if you like, but it's up to you. I want this information and this person, Hans Rosling, to be on your radar in the future. He's an important thinker, and his family, who are now continuing his work, have a foundation in Sweden, and they're publishing works now called Factfulness. And I'll write this down, a book and research that they continue to do. And let me just do one thing at a time here. I'll bring this back. And I need to bring first to pop out of here so everybody can come back. And then I'm going to write this down for you. There we go. And bring that back. And we'll bring the map back. Whoops. We'll do it right there. And we'll bring the space station back. Or, well, Elon Musk. I'm going to write this for you on the board. Factfulness. It's a book and I think workshops. Factfulness. That the Rosling family, the Roslings, are continuing to do. And I think you're going to find that a useful source of information in the future. Good information. Not toxic information, information off the top of people's heads, but rigorous information that can help you to make good decisions and be better educated. I have a person or two in mind that I think can tell us a lot about our future. But I want to wait until maybe you tell me, and then we're going to conclude, unless you want to stay a little longer. Do any of you have any individuals in mind from the story so far that you think really speak to our future? What's that? Oh, hold on, just a second. Let me come back. Just hold your thought. Where Toria is, I've lost, I'll find it. Just please hold your thought. Oh, I am in Toria. Okay, there we are. You can't see it. And let me just, yeah. So there's, did you mention somebody? Who? Elon Musk. Very good answer, but I won't say that. I'm not going to choose, but that is a very clever answer and very observant. And yes, he's important. But before I tell you who I think is really important, let me just check in a little bit more. So Elon Musk is number one. No question, he will be important for our future. But really, in terms of uncovering new information, don't we need a mindset, a way of looking at the world more than a successful, wealthy person who is taking us to new places? Yes. But don't we need more than that to understand the future? And I mean understand what's there, understand where we may be going, understand how to become more educated so that we can make the future better, understand how humanity can thrive in the future, not just humankind, but the idea of humanity, compassion, brotherhood, sisterhood, the bond, being human. Remember, this has been a story of humanity, and humanity is not just about humankind, it's about that state of humanity. I might put to you, just to think about, that as brilliant as Elon Musk is, and as important as he will be, or people like him will be for our future, he really doesn't represent the force of humanity. He represents the force of power and wealth and attention-seeking and genius, technical genius. But I'm not sure he is in the same league as somebody else I'm thinking about here. Remember that video I showed you of Charles Darwin and Alfred Russel Wallace? Let's talk about our future for a second. Do you think Elon Musk and people like him are more important for the evolution of us on this planet than people like Charles Darwin and Alfred Russel Wallace? Maybe it's not an either-or question. Maybe we need both. But I'm going to put my flag, and I'm going to stand with Charles Darwin and Alfred Russel Wallace myself. Okay, that's just me. But just because I believe that they represent something so vital to the future of humanity doesn't mean that you will believe it. So you can have a different perspective. Just be prepared to defend it. What do Charles Darwin and Alfred Russel Wallace represent? In that wonderful video, and then we talked about the idea of evolution that they both introduced humanity to. They both proved it. In fact, they couldn't prove everything, but they've been proven right again and again and again through the decades, through the sciences that have evolved. Genetic science, number one, for sure. What do they represent? Beverly?
Wonder and curiosity.
Yep. Lovely. Wonder and curiosity. Yep. Elon Musk might have that. For sure. Right there, he doesn't look like the picture of wonder and curiosity. He looks like a, very, very wealthy billionaire who's a little concerned that his thing didn't go as well as he wanted, and he may not make the money that he would like. Why is money so important to Elon Musk? Does he put it all into his spacecraft, or does he put it somewhere else? Do Charles Darwin and Alfred Russel Wallace, desire money? Did they desire fame? Maybe. But I don't think that he desired knowledge as much as they did. And it has been said by a great free thinker, Jacob Bronowski. I may have talked about him. The Ascent of Man, he presented to us in the 1960s and the 1970s, his series of books and television shows. And he said, knowledge is our destiny. Not power, not money. And I'd like you to think about that in your own life as you go forwards, wanting many, many, many things, because that's what humans do. We want. We're restless. We just keep going. Our imaginations are so rich and driving us, and then we have our courage, then we have our perseverance, and we will kill everything to get what we want. But deep, deep down, do you want to be that killer, or do you want to be that knowledge seeker? In your own life, how important will knowledge be more than power? How important will love be more than glory or fame or everybody talking about you and saying how amazing you are, hanging on your word? Where's the love? I don't know about that.
Wait, sorry, Professor. I just want to say, like, I feel like we are like the world is becoming. People are not following traditional values as they used to anymore, and that's like a
This
the
is true.
big problem nowadays.
I know. That's hard. So what are you going to do in your life, Danny? You're going to follow tradition more? Or are you going to say tradition has been helpful in the past, but I'm going to open myself up to new traditions. I'm not afraid.
I'm gonna follow traditional values.
We'll see. We'll check in a few years and see. Things may change. I'd just like you to think today as you leave this class, more than anything, about your own evolution over the next years. There are 77 years left in the 21st century. You will probably make it, given the way medical science is going, out of the 21st century, but you will be gone in the 22nd century, early on. I probably will not make it to the 22nd century. I'm 60. So unless I make a lot of money and be like Elon Musk, figure out how can I become like Gilgamesh, seeking immortality, right? We all want to stay alive, like King Ramses, get buried and all these, so we can live forever. We all want to live for a long, long time, but I'm not going to make it into the 22nd. But you very likely will, the way medical science is going. But so, are you ready to evolve in your own life, or are you just gonna, not?
I'm scared.
Of course, Danny. It's a wonderful. Maybe we should just end the semester right there on those words, because that's powerful, Danny. Yeah, that's powerful stuff. What you just said. We're gonna let that. I'm scared. Well,
Exclamation mark.
what's that?
Add an exclamation mark.
Add an exclamation mark. Okay. Danny, I'm going to tell you that you're not going to be scared all your life. Things are going to happen. If you just hang in there, you're going to understand something that Stan Lee of Marvel Comics once said. He loved the word Excelsior. Do you know what that means? Excelsior. Excelsior. Onwards and upwards to greater glory. If we use our technology well, We can't stop this. You saw 3 million years ago, we take a rock, we start sharpening. We love to build things, and we'll take everything from the natural world, whether it's a tree, whether it's an animal, whether it's rocks, water, you name it, we'll shape it. We'll make corn out of teosinte. You saw that. So that's called technology. It's, well, first science, you understand nature, then you manipulate nature. The electrons in your transistors, and so all of this you've seen. Well, shouldn't all of that take us to a better place? Shouldn't all these tools, Danny, make us less afraid? Do you want to live a life of fear? I don't think so. Excelsior. We can thank Stan Lee. The genius behind Marvel Comics. Not DC Comics, Marvel. But I won't get into a debate. I understand there's students here who have debates on Marvel, DC. I'm just talking about what he said. I'm not saying which is the better, who has the better characters, better stories. So I say evolution, Excelsior. Let's move on. Use our tools. More glory, more understanding, have a better life, less fear, more joy, more love. Let's go for it. Anyways, I don't want to hold you hostage for too long. Anything you'd like to say? Okay, great. So I think we can, the microphone was on. Good. So we're all set. I'm going to end this live stream, our little class on evolution, and I